Good evening, everyone. My name is Mitchell Kent, and I'm the president of TNPS Native Plant Society, or TNPS for short. If you're not familiar with our organization, we exist to promote the protection and conservation of native plant species and their habitats in Tennessee through education. I would like to welcome you to the very first TNPS Botanical Tools and Techniques workshop. The purpose of the workshop is to provide information on some of the latest tools for identifying and studying plants. Tonight, we will feature the popular product iNaturalist, one of the top 5 cell phone apps, which has a large user base of both professionals and amateurs. Our session leader for the workshop is Eli Harris. Eli is a graduate student at Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville, where he is completing his master's program in biology and other plant sciences. He also serves as a graduate teaching assistant in the Department of Biology. Eli's academic focus lies in botany and floristics, centering his thesis research on plant diversity of Cliffs State Natural Area in Tennessee. He is an active field botanist and naturalist, pursuing hands-on study of flora and natural habitats and sharing his work and discoveries through social platforms and citizen science projects. His professional interests extend to plant taxonomy, regional floristics, and conservation efforts, making contributions to scientific collections and databases in his area of expertise. And I can tell you he's also an excellent photographer. The program tonight is all about the iNaturalist product. Eli is a longtime iNaturalist user with over 12,000 logged observations. I believe you'll find his presentation both interesting and informative. So, Eli, the floor is all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Mitchell, for that introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yes,
Can you see it?
yes.
All right. So what I want to do first is just go through this presentation, and then after that, I just want to jump on the iNaturalist website quickly and show you a few shortcuts that I use to identify. So first, iNaturalist is just a social network of people sharing biodiversity information to help everybody learn about nature and species and so forth. iNaturalist has really become a very large platform in the last few years. Um, well, let's see. All right. So a couple reasons that I use iNaturalist, and if you all already use iNaturalist in here, I bet you use it for some of the same reasons that I do. For one, I post observations to get help with identifications. If I don't know a certain plant or if I don't know a certain bird, somebody on iNaturalist most of the time will know. I do help others identify species. Right now, I have around 65,000 IDs on there. So I do iNaturalist a lot. Whenever I travel to different states, I'll usually look on the Explore map to see if there's any biodiversity hotspots near where I'm traveling. So that's a good thing about iNaturalist as well. iNaturalist, you can learn a lot about the species on the taxon page. And the really big reason that I use iNaturalist is I'm able to contribute to citizen science. So I took this screenshot in May of 2025. So you can see about 1 year ago, there was 226 million observations across the entire world with around 506,000 species. Now fast forward that to today, January 15th. we've had 292 million observations with 549 thousand species. So in about a year, we've had over 40,000 more species documented and observed. So it's amazing that that many species can be put on a naturalist in a year. It's really growing very quickly, and that's a good thing. So when you post an observation on a naturalist, that observation records an encounter with an individual species at a particular time in a location. So all eight of these observations is one species apiece, and it was taken at a particular time in a particular place. Since I've been on iNaturalist, I noticed that sometimes people will post one observation, but they'll have 8 to 10 pictures of different species within one observation. So that's not good. So if you have 10 different pictures of species, you'll need to create 10 different observations. So one observation for one species. So when you do iNaturalist, it's you have to get out and explore. So you may not have to go to a um, a rock house like I am down here at the bottom, but you can do iNaturalist from your yard. Hold on just a second, Mitchell. Hold on just a second. I apologize. Okay, I apologize. TV was blaring. But when you do iNaturalist, um, you don't have to be at a unique habitat to do it. You can do it right in your yard, just like this copperhead. There's a lot of stuff that's in people's yards, and you don't have to travel a long ways to document organisms. Um, so after you explore, you have to document species. So when you're out, what I do is I just try to take pictures of everything. I take pictures of plants, lichens, insects, just any living organism. I try to document. And you really never know what you're going to come across. For example, this sedge species over here on the left side, I was at Henry Horton State Park and I really had no idea what this sedge was. And I took a picture of it, and once I got home, I posted it on iNaturalist, and it turned out that it was a S1 critically imperiled sedge, uh, Davis's sedge, and I don't even really think it was even known to exist at that park. So you really never know what you're going to document. After you take photos in the field, the next step is you have to share what you see. So the screenshot that I have on the left is what a naturalist looks like on the web. And then on the right is a screenshot of your phone, the application on the iPhone. So that would be the next step. Now, once you upload your photos to iNaturalist, anyone can add an identification to an observation. So you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have any kind of formal biology training. But iNaturalist just asks people to ID to what they are comfortable IDing at. Um, iNaturalist uses a community ID system, which means that two IDs in agreement makes the observation research grade. So if I posted a picture of a northern cardinal, I could suggest Northern Cardinal, and then Kim would have to suggest Northern Cardinal for it to be research grade. Now, on iNaturalist, there's three types of grades. There's casual grade, which would mean that the species is either domesticated, such as a hosta or something like that, or it could be casual grade if the date or location is not accurate. Needs ID is just where no one has, posted an ID on it. And then research grade would be where that you have two IDs in agreement to each other. So this is a screenshot of the identifying step. So you can see up here that iNaturalist, beside of the scientific name, it does show research grade. That's because we have more than two people in agreement. Now, iNaturalist, a lot of people use it. You have professionals that use it. You have amateurs that use it. There's people from all walks of life that use iNaturalist. You never really know who's going to confirm your IDs. And what I showed in this slide is Will Kuhn is the research director at Discover Life in America in the Smoky Mountains. And this other person down below that, his username is COM Radon. He is an environmental lawyer. So you really never know who is going to confirm your IDs. So that's pretty neat. Now, once you identify your specimens, or even once the observations are posted, you have the ability to discuss. So on these two observations, I just took a screenshot showing these individuals discussing and communicating, like the observation here on the right. This is Jared. So he's talking about that the site that this plantanthera was at was sprayed. So you can add comments to your observations. So that's really neat as well. And here, up here for the observation for Goodyear repens, you can see beside of the common name, you have a CR. CR would mean critically imperiled. So some of these species on iNaturalist, if they are rare, they will show the conservation status if that status has been uploaded to the species profile. So that's one thing that I try to work on. Being a curator on iNaturalist is try to put some of these conservation statuses in for some of these species. Now, iNaturalist has a really good community. There's a place that you can go to. It's called iNat Forum. And if you ever need help, tutorials, if you just want to talk about nature in general, if you have problems with iNaturalist, you can post in this forum, and people's pretty active within this forum. So if you ever have any trouble using iNaturalist, you can definitely get help on the forum. And that's just something that you would have to search on Google, iNat Forum, and it's pretty easy to access. And just continuing about the community, um, when you post observations or even in general, there's a search bar where that you can search people's usernames and you can read their bio and look at their profile. You can see their stats about, like, looking at my profile here on the left. You can see how many observations, how many species, how many IDs that they've made. So it's a good way to make connections, and you can also follow people on iNaturalist. Here on the right, this would be a screenshot of iNaturalist on the web. There is a couple bars up at the top. So explore, observations, community, identify. You can push the community button up there and it'll open this page. It'll show the people of iNaturalist. It shows the people that's recently active on iNaturalist. And if you're really competitive, like I am, you can see the leaderboards down at the bottom. So iNaturalist keeps up with who had the most observations in certain months, who logged the most species in certain months, and who made the most identifications in certain months. So if you're competitive, the leaderboard is something that, you can watch and, have fun with it. But there is a great community out there that can really help. And iNaturalist, I'll say this, they recently launched an iNaturalist ambassador program, which I applied and I become an ambassador for iNaturalist just recently, probably a few months ago. But the ambassadors, they sometimes they'll even schedule like bio blitzes where people can participate. They have meetings like this for people to come and learn about iNaturalist. So it's really good in general, the program. If you're interested in becoming an iNaturalist ambassador, the application period, I believe, opens soon. I think it's this month or next. So you'll be able to apply for that on the iNaturalist website. So when you log on to iNaturalist, the first thing you'll usually see is your dashboard. This is the news feed, just like Facebook. The people that you follow, instead of showing updates about their personal life and so forth, it shows their observations, comments, interactions that they have with other users. So you can see these three profiles that I pointed to here in the middle. These are people that I follow on iNaturalist, and I frequently look at the dashboard just that I can see what people post that I'm following. One thing that's really neat on iNaturalist is down here in the bottom right, you can see that I have an arrow pointed to that. It's for subscriptions. So say that you're very interested in orchids or trilliums, you can subscribe to certain taxa and locations. And when those species are uploaded to iNaturalist, it will notify you where that if you want to identify them or if you just want to look at the locations, that's really why I do that. But it does notify you. So it's a good thing to subscribe to certain things if you want that. Now, another reason that I use iNaturalist is that it keeps up with my life list. So all of the plants, all of the organisms that I've seen throughout my life and logged on iNaturalist, it keeps a life list. And it tells up here how many species that you've observed. This is an older screenshot, so I have logged new stuff since this, but the tree, the life list, iNaturalist organizes that by taxonomic relationships. And over here, you can see over here, I put a red box around the rattlesnake fern. It does keep up with how many times you logged or observed a species. So, for an example, I logged song sparrow 34 times. I logged Sporanthes ovialis 22 times. So, I like that it keeps up with how many times that you have observed a certain species. So that's appealing to me. Now, most people will never use this, but this is a good thing if you want to do research or anything like this. You can download data on iNaturalist. So how you'll do this is that when you're on the observation page, you can search for a species such as, say, northern cardinal, and it'll pull all the observations up. And once that comes up, you would click this filters button right here. I'm looking at the left screenshot. So you would click the gray filters button, and then you would go down to the bottom and click download. Once you click that download button, you'll see the screenshot here on the right. And this is the export observations. So you would click what settings that you want included in this downloaded file, and it will download it. All right, let me see if I can use a pointer. Okay, can you see? I don't know. I don't know what I did. Okay, I was trying to get a laser pointer, but I don't know what I did. So once you click the download and select everything you want, you would just scroll down to the bottom and click download. And then it would come up with this loading page that would say loading, and it takes about 10 minutes for it to download these files, being that it's really, really large. Once it's downloaded, you'll see the screen here on the right, and you'll click the green download button, and then it will download the file. After that happens, you'll have a CSV file that will have the information that you wanted. So that will include the latitudes, the longitudes, geoprivacy, species, everything that you wanted will be included in that file. So it's a really good resource if you want to do this. Now, on iNaturalist, there is certain taxons. Well, there's thousands of taxons, but you can click on a taxon page and you can view graphs for the seasons, the history, the life stage, the sex, all of that you can absolutely see. Now, down here at the bottom, you'll see some very important tabs, in my opinion. So this is maps, about, taxonomy, and status. So I'll show that right now. So this is the range maps. So for any species, you can view the range maps. And for the purple sandpiper, you can see the bulk of the observations is on the Atlantic coast up into Michigan, Ohio, and Europe. So it does tell where those species are being documented at. Now, the About page integrates Wikipedia information. So, a lot of people look down on Wikipedia, but this is good information to understand about the species, the taxonomy. It's got the descriptions. So there's a lot of good information on the About page. And then the taxonomy. A lot of people, the citizen scientists, a lot of people, they don't really worry about the taxonomy, but it is important. So here it shows, the phylum, the families, the genus. Over here on the right, it does show the taxon changes. So if a taxon has changed over time, it will show that. For this specific example, the purple sandpiper, you know, no taxon change has been logged. And then the status of these species. Now, this is primarily what I do as a curator. So I use iNaturalist and NatureServe, and I will get statuses from NatureServe and I will update iNaturalist on the conservation status. Now, for an example, Indiana, you can see that it's critically imperiled. And you'll see the taxon geoprivacy is obscured. So that means anytime a purple sandpiper is logged in Indiana, it will automatically be obscured. So people won't be able to see the exact coordinates. But globally, we can see that it's secure and the taxon is open. So people can see the specific GPS coordinates. And then the last part that I want to talk about here is similar species. So if you are identifying, say, a purple sandpiper, you can look at the similar species as the purple sandpiper. So it shows species similar to that. All right, hold on. Okay, so in iNaturalist, you can log different types of media. You can log photos, which would be illustrated here. You can upload sound ID, so you can record sounds and upload that. You can upload evidence of organisms. So if you see a feather or a track or evidence of a beaver or a beaver dam, any of that you can log on a naturalist. So, you don't always have to have the specific live organism that's right in front of you. You can upload evidence. Now, iNaturalist has recently integrated AI into the identification process. So I picked this example because I think, everybody needs to see this. So anybody know what this species is within the box? It's a Cypripedium species, but it's not listed. So this is one that's very rare in Tennessee. It's only found in one or two places. So iNaturalist with AI, it got the genus correct. So it's in Cypripedium. But down here it says, here are our top suggestions, and this species is not listed in there. So if a lot of times it's better just to identify to the genus if you don't know what the actual species is. But this one, it has difficulty sometimes with rare organisms because a lot of times those coordinates are obscured and the AI really can't generate the right species. So that's one thing you have to be cautious about. One thing when you're taking photos for iNaturalist, you want to take great identifiable photos. If you take photos that's way far away, it's not gonna ID good. One thing that I had been taught over the years is say that these reading glasses is a plant. A lot of times what I'll do is cup my hand right behind it where that my hand isolates that plant from the environment. And a lot of times that helps a naturalist, especially when it's identifying the plants or the specimens. You need to try different angles when you photograph, and you need to crop in as much as you can to get the species right, perfect view in the middle. So all of those are good tips to try to get your photos as good as they can be before uploading them to the iNaturalist platform. Now, this is an orchid that I photographed several years ago. So on the left, you can see I photographed the inflorescence. In the middle, I photographed the leaf. And then on the right, I photographed the bloom. So you don't have to photograph each part of the plant, but it does help if you do. That just helps the identifiers on a naturalist make sure you have, they're identifying the correct species. Um, but I can upload all three of these photos to one observation. So I think you can add up to 10 or 12 photos per observation on a naturalist. But remember, it has to be the same species. So to create an observation from the app, there's a button down at the bottom that you would click. It's got a green plus mark. Once you press that, you'll see the options here on the left. Camera, library, or record sound. I really never use my actual camera to upload directly into iNaturalist. I have GPS enabled on my iPhone, so I just go around and take pictures and save all those to my photo library. Whenever I get home, I go and upload them because it preserves the GPS coordinates. But if you don't have your phone set up to record that information, it's not going to have the GPS coordinates, and you'll have to manually zoom in on the place that you was. So if you don't know how to get the GPS enabled on your iPhone, it may be good just to do it via the camera in the app. After you upload or get your photo in, you'll see the screen here on the middle. So you can see it's got the date, time, locality, and then you have a couple options, geoprivacy projects, and so forth. Um, then you would push this button, what did you see? And it's going to auto-populate species. So you can see it did pretty well. It's Dryopteris is the genus, and then Dryopteris marginalis would be the species. So you would click Dryopteris marginalis, and then you would push the green share button, and it would upload it to a naturalist. One thing though, you have to keep the app open while it's uploading the observation, or it won't sync. So you can't push share and then cancel out the app because it won't upload. You have to wait till it fully um, uploads it to the app. Excuse me. So one thing I'll say, and this really applies to iNaturalist projects. So if you have a project, and I'll go into this in a minute, but you want your accuracy to be very small if you're trying to upload species into a project. Because if your observation falls with you know outside of the boundaries of the area, it won't add it to the project. So for an example, this species here on the left, the screenshot, you see ACC, everybody see that? It says 223 or 63. So that's 2,000 meters. That's a big area. So if you see something like that, you just need to click where it says like Daniel Boone National Forest, and it will bring up the map, and you just want to zoom in as much as you can to get the accuracy smaller. So in the screenshot here on the right, you can see the accuracy is 5 meters. So you always want to try to keep the accuracy as small as possible, if you can. And I'll show you a map with a project here in a moment. Now, if you're wanting to upload observations from a computer, you would do the same thing. There's a button on the website that says upload. And when you click upload, you'll see the screen here on the left. Drag and drop photos. So you'll have to choose a photo, and then you'll see the screenshot here on the right. So it's really the same thing as the app. You have the date, time, location, and species. Now, if you take photos on a digital camera, Most of the time, it's not going to record the location unless your digital camera has GPS, which mine doesn't. So what I have to do is I'll have to go in manually and add the location. So this is a screenshot of me adding the location. Now you can see this big red circle indicates a large area in accuracy. So you can see down here at the bottom, it says ACC, it says 420. So to get this observation in the Burgess Falls State Park project, I have to shrink that accuracy to 18, which would be the screenshot on the right. To shrink it on the computer, see the four little bullet points on the outside of the red circle? You would just click one of those bullet points and just drag it towards the middle, and then you're shrinking the accuracy, which is pretty easy. But it can be time consuming if you have a lot of species to do. Once you have the location, just push species name, and you can see that the AI generated that it is in Claytonia, which would be the genus, which would be correct. And then based off the image, I can't tell if it's Virginica or Carolina. So I would just, identify it to the genus, being that you always need to identify to what you are comfortable doing. So that's always a little tip. Then after that, there's a button that would say upload, and then it would upload. Now, this is one of the last parts that I'll talk about before going to the actual site. Um, Geoprivacy is very important, especially for rare species. So, geoprivacy can be manual or automatic. Like I said, some species are automatically obscured if they are rare. Not all of them are. If you want to manually obscure your locations, you would go here to this screenshot on the left and it says GeoPrivacy Open. Click that and you'll have three options: open, obscured, and private. So you'll be able to change your geoprivacy based on what you are comfortable with. And I can show you an example of those three here next. Well, it's in two more slides. So many orchids in the Plantanthera or the Cypripedium genus are already automatically obscured. Now, many reptiles and amphibians are also automatically obscured. Like this eastern box turtle, anytime you post one on iNaturalist, it's automatically obscured. Now, you may ask yourself, how do you tell if a observation is obscured? If you look down here on the screenshot, see where it says Tennessee, US obscured? There's a little eyeball that's beside Tennessee. Anytime you see that eyeball, it's obscured. And in the map, see this blue box? That's meaning it's obscured. So that box means that anywhere within that box, the blue box, I observed this eastern box turtle. So that's a large area. So that keeps and cuts down on people trying to poach some of our native rare plants, because most people are not going to go search every place in a 12-mile box. So that's protection against some of these species. Now, these are the three types of geoprivacy that we have in iNaturalist. For an example, if a species is open geoprivacy, you'll see a red pinpoint. You can click on any of those pinpoints and get the actual coordinates of that observation. The middle would be obscured. So this would indicate anywhere within this box, the green box, that that species was documented. On the right would be private. So if you log a species that is so sensitive and endangered, you can set the privacy to private where that no one can see it but you. But a lot of times the obscured is good enough for a lot of things. Now, one thing I will caution y'all, people are smart. People are very smart on iNaturalist. Say if I go today at Burgess Falls and I log a rare species, if I only obscure that one rare species and I don't obscure any of my other observations at Burgess Falls, people can go to my profile and observations and they can backtrack and look and they can figure out and say, well, if he logged these common species at Burgess Falls on January 15th, and then he also logged a rare Sporanthes species on the same day, the likelihood of it being at Burgess Falls is pretty good. So, my tip to you all, if you'd use iNaturalist, is if you log a rare species during a field outing, you need to obscure every observation for the entire day, just not the rare ones. You can upload your observations out of order. That also cuts down on people finding out locations from you. So that's another good way. Another thing you need to be careful about is who you trust with the coordinates of rare and endangered plants or organisms in general. Not everyone has the best of heart for plants or organisms as you may. There's been many plants that I have found and I've told people about, and I've went back and I've seen that somebody has either dug them up or they've took cuttings of them. So you just have to be careful who you tell about some of these plants and stuff. Now, I have talked about projects on iNaturalist, so anybody can create projects on iNaturalist if it's for research or just good deeds. You know, you can create projects. I did a biodiversity project with a fellow professor at Ball State at Meadow Creek Park, and this is the project that we made. So every time anybody goes up to Meadow Creek Park and they log species there, it automatically adds these to this project. So you don't have to go in and manually add anything. It automatically adds it for your, automatic. So that's a good thing. And you can set all that up in the project section of of iNaturalist. It's very easy to set up a project. So this is the map that I wanted to talk about accuracy. So see this like yellow border around Meadow Creek Park? If you log a species at Meadow Creek Park and your accuracy falls outside of this yellow border, your observations will not be added to the project. So that's the reason you have to keep your accuracy small because if you want your observations in the project, you have to make sure they fall within the boundary. And the best way to do that is just make sure your accuracy is very small. So this is the last point that I'll hit on in this PowerPoint. Um, so iNaturalist recently come out with a new app. So iNaturalist Next is the app on the left. So you can see it looks modern. It looks more, organized. It's nicer. And then you have the legacy app that's over here on the right. Both apps are still functional. I still have both apps on my phone. I think really the iNat Next has advantages that the old one doesn't. And then I think the old one may be better in some capacity than the new one. So that's why that I keep both of them in or on my phone because I use both of them. But iNat Next, it is really powerful because it integrates Seek into the camera. So a lot of times in the new iNaturalist app, you can just scan a plant or an organism and it will tell you what it is, even without having to upload it to iNaturalist. So that's a really big positive to the new app. It's really, really powerful, the new one is. And this is just another screenshot of the new app on the left and then the old screenshot on the right. So, there is some differences, but it's not too different. So the tips that I will give you all is just don't use the app. There's so many features on the website that you can take advantage of. Um, Please take multiple identifiable photos and use the tips that I said in the presentation. Those tips will really do you good when you post on iNaturalist because you'll have more success in getting your species identified. And the most important thing is don't be afraid to ask for help or to make mistakes. I make mistakes every single day. And even on iNaturalist, I have identified things wrong. I've had people correct me. And instead of getting, mad or anything like that, I take it as a learning experience where that I can learn from other people. Because on iNaturalist, like I said, there is some very, very, very smart people that can really help with the identifying side of things. Now, here I have included some links to if you need help or support, you can email iNaturalist via the support email. You can ask for help on the forum, and they do have a questions page where that you can go to. Now, I will say I would be more than happy to help if you have any problem or a question on iNaturalist. That is my iNaturalist username. So you can look me up or send me an email or so forth if you need it. Um, but there's a lot of help out there. And before I do the questions, I do want to go to the internet, to the iNaturalist website really quick, and then we'll have questions. And I hope I didn't go too quick. So let me go to the website. Everybody still seeing what I'm seeing? The
Yes.
iNaturalist website?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to identify plants, there's two ways you can do it. You can go up here to the top where that it says identify. Once you're on the identify page, you'll have all the observations that's been recorded just a few moments ago. You can go through these and do it, random, or a lot of times I will search specific species and then identify those. So, for an example, let's just do one that's easy. So, northern cardinal. So, you can type in a species and then the locality that you want. And you'll see none of these photos have red cardinals like you would expect. But that is why that it's showing the observations that have not been ID. So if you want to go and look at the research grade, you would click this button, filters, and you would click research grade. And then you would want to update your search. And now we see the Northern Cardinals. Now, to identify, you can push the agree button down here below, or what you can do is you can click on observation, and there's a couple shortcuts that I was taught. To agree, push the letter A, and you never have to move your mouse. If you want to move to the next observation, you would just push the right arrow on your keypad. And then you can push A to agree. And you can see that I did there. So A agree, and then say there's a species that has not been identified correctly. Let me find one here that I can show. Let me go back to identify, and let me just go to filter, and I'm going to click this leaf, and it says unknown. So all of these observations have not even been assigned anything. They're unknown. So I'll click that. Okay, let's look here. So this is a plant. So you can see nobody's put an observation yet on here. So instead of having to move my mouse and click add ID down here at the bottom, all you have to do is push the letter I on your keypad, and that pulls up add an identification. If I don't know what this plant is, I'm just going to identify it to what I am comfortable with. So I know this is a vascular plant, so that's going to put it in phylum Trachophylla. So even if I don't know what stuff is, I'm still able to sort through these organisms and assign them based on what I am comfortable at. So let me find another one for example. So here, this is a plant. It's a seed pod, but I'm just going to assign it a plant. So even if you're not comfortable with things, you can still assign it to the very basic classification. Plants, insects, fungi, anything like that. And really, that's what iNaturalist wants people to focus on. They want people to go through these unknown species and try to assign basic IDs for them where that other people can come in and they can pick the torch up from plants and they can maybe identify the species or the genus or so forth. Um, so that's another thing. One thing I'll show you before I end, you can go up here to the top and click the Explore page. When you click Explore, you're still able to identify based off these, but you have to click manually on each observation and then come down here and click agree or suggest an ID. So whenever I identify, mainly I do it off the identify tab, being that I can cover more ground more quickly. But, sometimes I'll do it off the Explore page as well. So with that, I think I have covered everything that I was hoping to. And if y'all have any questions or want me to show you anything specifically, here on the iNaturalist website, I would be more than glad to show anything that I covered. I'd be more than glad to.
So thank you, Eli. This has been very, very good and a tremendous amount of information that you've put together, it's well organized, and we appreciate you doing this. Uh, so if anyone does have any questions, just go ahead and unmute and ask your question or put it in the chat, and we will go forward. I will mention that this is being recorded, so this will be posted to the seminar page of the TNPS website. So if you want to go back and review some of this material later, it will be available in a week or so out there.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot of material, but like I said before, it's such a powerful tool. It's amazing, that there's so much, and it's hard really to cover everything, in an hour or less. It's difficult.
One thing that I thought about as you were going through this was Uh, how often do you find that you are posting something completely unique and there have been no prior observations of that item?
Yeah, so I don't think that I have experienced that myself. But certain species, like let me see, certain species really doesn't they don't have many observations. So let me see, Carex, Davisii. So this is the one that I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. So you can see that there is my observation here. In Tennessee, there's only been 10 observations. So some species only have a few, and then some have hundreds, thousands. It really depends, but certain ones, like mostly your rare species, they don't have a lot of observations. Here's another one that may not have many. Belphilia werfii. Yeah, so it's got 40 throughout the state. So, um, you know, some have, hardly no observations. And then like a mallard in Tennessee, let me see, mallards in Tennessee, there's almost, 3,400. So it just really depends on the species, you know.
And I assume that there's not a particular identifier that indicates whether an observation is a native plant or a non-native plant for a given area. Is that true?
So iNaturalist actually does indicate if it's been introduced. It doesn't tell if it's native, but it does tell if it's been introduced. So for an example, so if I type up privet, let me privet. Well, I spelled wrong. So Chinese privet. So up here at the top, you can see it's research grade, but you have a little uh, exclamation mark. If you
Okay.
click that exclamation mark, it does say that it's been introduced in Chattanooga. So it does tell if a species is introduced. Um, and I can show you this really quick too. Carrick's, and I'll just do Davis Eye again. So this one, it does have that critic CR, and if you click on the CR, it will say conservation status critically imperiled in Tennessee. So it does give a description of the conservation status. Some even have more of a description than that. It really depends on which ones and who uploaded the conservation status. But yeah, those little buttons beside of the common names, those are really good to pay attention to.
So, and what about invasive species? I'm thinking in particular Kogon grass, which is beginning to make its move over into Tennessee. Is something like that going to show up on here?
Yeah, so Pogon,
Kogons, C-O.
Oh,
Kogon grass,
Kogon.
all one word.
Okay, so let's see. I haven't observed that, but let me go to explore and we can just see how many observations has been in Tennessee. So Kogon has 6 observations in Tennessee. And what you can do is if you really want to view the map of where this species is being seen, you can click this button here where my mouse is map, click that, and it shows the spots.
That's
So
that.
you have a spot down here at Memphis, you have 2 spots near Memphis, you have a spot near Knoxville, and a couple here on the Cumberland Plateau.
Yeah.
So that's a good way that people can track invasives and even endangered species. You can use this map feature and you can see where these species are being located at. But if the species is obscured, instead of seeing like an individual point like this, you would see that green box.
Mhm.
So that could make it difficult to um, keep track of excuse me. That could make it difficult to keep track of these endangered species because, for an example, like the snowy orchid, that is only found in one place in Tennessee, and I can show you what it looks like. Yeah. So on the map, you can see it's a box.
Mhm.
So so that's not all the spots this orchid is being found, but it's with somewhere within this box. And like if I just click on one, here you can see it's going to say obscured. It's going to have the little eye right there, and then it's going to show that green obscured box where
Mhm.
that it really makes it difficult for people to find it. And that's a good way that species can be protected where that people won't go and harvest those or poach them.
Yeah, sure. Well, I see that we are just a little bit over the hour here. And again, I want to thank you, Eli, for all the great information you provided to us. It's been a wonderful study of the product and ways to use it and tips and tricks that you've learned through your experience with it. And I'm sure it's going to be very helpful to folks that have heard this today or go back and review it later on once it's online. So are there any final questions before we terminate tonight? If not, well, Eli, I want to say heartfelt thanks to you for all the work you put into this presentation and all the good help that you're making for the identification of plants of not only your own but others as well.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add really quick is if anybody wants a copy of the presentation that I gave, feel free to email me and I'll send it to you. I would be glad to do that if anybody wanted it.
That's very generous. That's very generous. Well, I hope you get to feeling better soon, Eli, and I'm sure that we're going to be looking forward to seeing you again on the workshop series. So keep in touch.
All right. Well, thank you, Mitchell. Yeah, and thanks for having me.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Good night now.